Hi, this is Walter Montero, and you're listening to this week's edition of the Real Estate and Mortgage Show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate and Mortgage Show. We're getting closer and closer to springtime. Sun is shining. There's virtually no snow on the ground, which is great. But it's still a little cold outside. So, that's your weather forecast for today. By the way, in case you're listening to it on any other given day, I'm forecasting on March the 24th, 2015, which is a sunny Tuesday afternoon in Cambridge, Ontario. This week's topic, I wanted to talk about the similarities or the differences between for sale by owners and power sale listings. Kind of two odd things to compare to each other, but I was thinking about it the other day. I was just kind of driving around and I saw a couple of for sale by owners, and then I saw a listing that had a bunch of tags on the window, which I of course knew was a power sale. And I started thinking about how is a power sale similar to a sale by owner. And really, I wasn't really thinking in that actual context. It was just kind of occurred to me how similar these two listings are. And I'll tell you where I was coming from in terms of why I thought they were so similar. With a power sale, a lot of times we get calls from buyers that start their search looking for power sale properties. I think most people do that because everybody's looking for a deal. They're looking for a good deal. Where else are you going to find a good deal? Through a bank sale, of course, right? And I understand that. And then, of course, there's also the for sale by owner. A lot of times, when we start dealing with buyers, one of the things that buyers do get hung up with is that, hey, if I find a property on my own, if it's for sale by owner, I want to be able to buy this property on my own and not pay you a commission. Okay, so those are sort of the two elements of where I'm coming from, just so you understand where I'm coming from. So let me just make a couple things clear. Okay, first of all, with a power sale, I think where a lot of people get confused is a power sale is not a foreclosure property. It's not a foreclosure sale. So under power sale, when a bank or a lender takes a property under power sale, what they're doing is they don't actually take title to the property. What they're doing is they're taking possession to the property in order to be able to expedite the exercise of getting their interest in the property out. Now, when they do that, the power sale is a whole lot faster process than foreclosure. When it's a foreclosure, the bank actually takes title to the property. They can do whatever they want with it. But with a power sale, the reason the power sales are more popular is because they're faster in terms of a way for the lender to remedy the situation. Okay, but as a result of that process being faster, they are also under some obligations to the borrower that actually lost the property or lost control of the property. So one of which, more than anything, is that they have to prove, or they at least have to have their portfolio prepared to be able to prove that they attempted to get as much money for the property as possible. So in other words, as close to market value as possible. So in a situation where people are going to, power sale properties and thinking that they're going to get a great deal because the banks are going to dump these things because hey, the mortgage is certainly not in the same element as the price. So let's say if a property only has a $100,000 mortgage, a $250,000 property, the bank's going to dump this thing. That's not the case at all. The bank is obligated to get as much money for that property as possible, okay? Because after they sell the property and after all the expenses have been taken out for selling the property, okay, and everybody's been paid who needs to be paid, that money that is left over, so in other words, the equity, it needs to go back to the person that lost the property. In essence, they have a real obligation to try and get as much money for that property as possible. So where do people get the misinformation of power sales being a good deal? Well, I'll tell you, most power sales are in terrible shape. So when you see a property sell, wow, that looked like a really good deal. Well, of course it was a good deal because the thing was a piece of crap. Okay? So there's a real misconception of power sale properties being a real good deal because quite honestly, folks, I've been at this 28 years. They're not bad deals, but they're not the greatest deals. In fact, in many cases, I've actually seen properties that were under control by the borrower. Okay, so the borrower was trying to sell the property, trying to unload it, trying to get themselves out of a jam, and they couldn't. And what ended up happening is the bank takes over. Okay, they get possession of the property through power sale, and sometimes the lender ends up selling the property for more than what the person was trying to sell it for beforehand. And it's all because, there's this mentality that, oh, it's a power sale property, it's got to be a good deal. Okay? And, like I said, quite honestly, it is what it is. So there's no free lunch here. If you're buying a power sale, great. Be prepared that you're probably going to have to take on a bit of a project because most of these things are beat up. Okay, so there's a misconception of that. Now, how did I draw the parallel to power sale properties to for sale by owners? Well, where I drew the parallel was, and we see it because we have a mortgage company as well. So we see a lot of times with private deals, the little private deals that are happening out there. There are many cases where the seller ends up getting a higher value or a higher net dollar in his pocket because the buyer has this misconception that, hey, there's no realtor involved, so I'm getting a deal. Okay. Well, folks, you're not getting a deal. Okay. This guy is selling his property and he's not paying a commission. He's putting it in his pocket. Now, is the money his? Absolutely, it's his. It's his property. All right. But don't fool yourself for a minute to think that you're getting a deal. Now, do deals happen in the for sale by owner market for the buyer? Yeah, they do. Absolutely, they do. But I can tell you this much: in my experience, they happen more for the seller than they do for the buyer. And quite honestly, that's probably why for sale by owners have such a hard time selling. A lot of times they're just not in agreement with somebody that has provided them with market evaluation of the property, and they want to ask for more. Let's say the value of the property is 100,000. So you evaluate a property at 100,000. So what the buyer or what the seller ends up thinking many times is he's thinking, well, hold it here. I thought my property was worth 110. Okay. And then what they do is they go, well, you know what? I'm going to end up selling it myself, and I'm going to save, for example, a 5% commission. Of course, commissions are not fixed, but let's say that it was 5%, then they're going to put that value at 115. Okay, so now you've got somebody trying to sell a property for $115,000 that's worth 100 grand. Okay, that's why a lot of these private sellers, it doesn't work out. Not to mention that there's a whole other bunch of elements at place here. In the grand scheme of things, the similarity between for sale by owners and power sale properties is, quite honestly, folks, you think you're getting a deal and you're not. Okay, here's the thing. I think the best thing for you to do if you're a buyer, you're a serious buyer, get in contact with a real estate agent that you trust. Sit down and go over what you're looking for, okay, and lay out exactly the terms that you're willing to encapsulate into an agreement, okay? And by the agreement, I mean a buyer agency agreement. Okay, so you've got that all up front, and expose yourself to all the properties. Expose yourself to the properties that are power sale and for sale by owner, of course, and expose yourself to the properties that are multiple on the multiple listing service. All right, so that's basically where I'm coming from and why I think for sale by owners and power sale properties are similar. Okay, and if you have any questions, just feel free to fire me an email. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of the Real Estate Mortgage Show. If you have any real estate questions, please direct them to me at 519-624-9222 or Walter at MaximumResults.ca, or you can find me online at www.cambridgehouses.com. If your interests are in mortgages, please feel free to call 519-624-9222 or email Karen at MaximumResults.ca, or you can find her online at www.m as in Mary, R as in Roger, financial.ca. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you have a great week.